There are prayers that are whispered once, and there are prayers that echo through a lifetime. This is not a story about a miracle that happened quickly. It is not a story about an instant blessing or a sudden breakthrough. This is a story about waiting. Imagine kneeling beside your bed tonight, your hands folded, your voice trembling just slightly, your heart believing, truly believing that heaven is listening. Now imagine doing that tomorrow night, and the night after that, and the night after that. Not for a week, not for a month, not even for a year, but for 50 years. Imagine praying the same prayer every single night for half a century, and never, not once, receiving an answer. No sign, no voice, no dream, no miracle. Just silence. We are often told that faith moves mountains, that prayer changes things, that God answers when we believe hard enough. But what happens when you believe and nothing changes? What happens when faith becomes a routine instead of a moment? When hope stops feeling exciting and starts feeling heavy? Tonight, this story will challenge everything you think you know about unanswered prayers. Because this is the story of a woman the world called foolish, a woman heaven seemed to ignore, and a prayer that was answered only after her final breath. Her name was Hannah. Every night, without fail, Hannah lit a single candle in the window of her small wooden house. The flame was never bright, never dramatic, just steady. The villagers passed by and shook their heads. Some whispered, some laughed, some felt sorry for her. But Hannah never explained herself, because that candle was not for them. It was for her son, and she believed until the very end that one night he would see the light and come home. Before Hannah became known as the woman with the candle, before her name was spoken with pity or mockery, she was simply a mother, a gentle one. She lived in a quiet village where days moved slowly and lives followed predictable paths. She was known for her kindness, the kind that didn't announce itself, the kind that showed up quietly when it was needed most. Hannah had hands that worked hard and loved harder, hands that kneaded bread in the morning, hands that brushed hair away from a child's eyes, hands that folded together in prayer long before pain ever entered her life. Her son was her joy. He had her eyes and his father's stubbornness. He laughed easily, dreamed boldly, and talked about the world beyond the village as if it were calling his name. Hannah listened. She didn't try to cage his dreams. She didn't demand he stay small just so she could feel safe. She loved him enough to let him imagine more. But love, when stretched too far, always breaks something. The day her son left, the sky was calm, too calm. No thunder, no warning. He hugged her tightly and promised he would return. Not someday, not maybe. Soon, he said. Hannah believed him. At first, the waiting felt light, almost exciting. Every footstep outside made her look up. Every knock at the door made her heart race. She prepared meals as if he might arrive at any moment. She kept his room just the way he left it. She spoke his name as if he were only in the next room. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Still, Hannah waited. The villagers asked politely at first, then less often, then not at all. And one night, long after the sun had set and the house felt unbearably quiet, Hannah stood by her window, holding a candle. She lit it slowly, not as a ritual, not a superstition, but as a promise that no matter how dark the road became, no matter how long it took, there would always be a light waiting for him. That night, Hannah prayed a prayer so simple it barely sounded holy. Bring my son home. She did not know then that this prayer would become her life's work, that it would outlast friendships,
outlast seasons, outlast hope itself. But even that first night, as the candle flickered against the glass, one thing was already certain. Hannah would not stop believing. Not tomorrow, not next year, not even if the world told her to let go. Because some faith is too deep to be reasoned away, and some love refuses to die, even when it waits in silence. The first night Hannah lit the candle, she did not think she was beginning a tradition. There was no ceremony, no special words, no sense that this moment would follow her for the rest of her life. It was simply night. The house felt too large without her son's footsteps. The walls held echoes of laughter that no longer belonged to the present. Silence settled into every corner like dust. Hannah stood by the window, holding the candle with both hands. The flame trembled, not from fear, but from movement, from life. She placed it carefully on the sill, just high enough to be seen from the road. "If he's walking," she whispered, "let him see this." That was all. No long prayer, no bargaining with heaven, no tears yet. Just a mother leaving a light on. That night, Hannah slept lightly. Every sound pulled her from rest. Wind in the trees, a distant step that wasn't real. Morning came without a knock at the door. She felt the familiar ache of disappointment, but it was gentle then. Hope was still young, strong enough to recover. The second night she lit the candle again, and the third. Soon, lighting the candle became as natural as breathing, as ordinary as locking the door, as necessary as prayer itself. Over time, the words she whispered grew quieter but deeper. Guide him. Protect him. Bring him home. She spoke them the same way each night, not because she believed repetition forced heaven's hand, but because love needs to be spoken even when no one answers. The villagers noticed the candle. At first they smiled. They said it was sweet. They said it was hopeful. But hope makes people uncomfortable when it lasts too long. Weeks passed, then months. The candles still burned. Some said it was unnecessary. Others said it was unhealthy. But Hannah never explained herself, because to her, the candle was no longer just light. It was faith made visible. It was a message to the darkness. You will not win. Waiting changes shape over time. At first, it feels temporary, like a pause between moments. But slowly, it stretches. Days slip quietly into weeks. Weeks lose their edges and become months. And one day, you realize that waiting has become part of who you are. Hannah stopped counting days. She measured time by seasons instead, by how many winters passed with the candle glowing against frozen glass, by how many springs bloomed without footsteps on the road, by how many summers she spent watching dust rise in the distance, hoping it meant someone was coming. Life in the village continued. Children grew tall, fathers grew old, mothers were buried, and every night, without fail, Hannah lit the candle. At first, people still asked about her son. Any news? Any word? Hannah always answered the same way. Not yet. But as years passed, the questions stopped. Silence replaced curiosity, and silence is heavier than questions. Friends began speaking to her more carefully, as if hope were fragile glass that might shatter if named aloud. Some avoided the subject altogether. Others avoided Hannah. But she did not stop. Her prayer did not grow louder with desperation. It grew quieter with endurance. There were nights she stood at the window longer than usual, watching the flame dance, imagining him standing somewhere far away, lost, tired, searching for a sign that someone was still waiting. She imagined him seeing the light. She imagined him turning back. And even when imagination was all she had left, she treated it like truth. Faith does not always feel powerful. Sometimes faith feels like stubbornness, like standing still while the world moves on without you. But Hannah believed something deeper than results. She believed that love, once given, does not expire, that prayers spoken in honesty do not disappear into nothing, that even if heaven was silent, it was not absent. Years passed. The candle remained, and with every night it burned, Hannah made the same quiet declaration. I am still here. I am still waiting, and I still believe.
Doubt rarely arrives loudly. It does not kick down the door or announce its presence. It comes quietly, wearing familiar faces, speaking with voices that sound reasonable. For Hannah, doubt came wrapped in concern. At first, it was gentle. A neighbor paused one evening as she passed the glowing window. She smiled, but her eyes held pity. "You're too kind," she said softly. "He would have come back by now." Hannah nodded, not in agreement, but in patience. As the years stretched longer, the voices grew bolder. Some laughed openly, some whispered when they thought she couldn't hear. They called her foolish. They said the candle was a reminder of loss she refused to release. They said holding on was hurting her more than letting go ever could. Even her friends, those who once prayed beside her, began to shift uncomfortably when her son's name was spoken. They changed the subject. They avoided her eyes. Hope had made them tired. Then came the pastor. He visited one afternoon when the light slanted low through the windows. He spoke gently, carefully choosing words that wouldn't wound. "Sometimes," he said, "God answers us with silence." Hannah listened respectfully. She always did. But something inside her stirred. Because silence may be an answer to some, but to her, silence was not permission to stop believing. That night, she stood by the window longer than usual. The candle burned steadily, but her hands trembled. For the first time, the voices of others crept into her prayer. What if they were right? What if hope had crossed the line into denial? What if faith, left unanswered long enough, was meant to be surrendered? She whispered her prayer anyway. Not louder, not more urgently, but more honestly. "Even if I'm wrong," she said, "I will still wait." And with that, Hannah made a choice. She would not allow doubt, no matter how reasonable, to steal what little light she had left. Silence can be kind at first. It gives space. It allows rest. It promises that something may still be coming. But when silence stretches too long, it changes. It begins to feel like absence. For Hannah, heaven was quiet. No dreams, no signs, no unexpected visitors carrying news. Her prayers did not change. Her words did not soften God's heart faster. Her candle did not summon miracles. Nothing happened. And this, more than ridicule, more than loneliness, was the hardest test of all. Because unanswered prayer does something dangerous to the soul. It makes you question not just whether God is listening, but whether you are worthy of being heard. There were nights Hannah finished praying and sat in the dark long after the candle burned low. She did not cry loudly. She did not accuse heaven. She simply breathed and waited. Faith, she learned, is not always about confidence. Sometimes it is about endurance. She remembered the stories she had heard as a child, miracles, deliverance, sudden answers. But her life told a different story, one without spectacle, one without proof. Still, she returned to the window every night, not because she expected something dramatic, but because stopping would mean surrendering the one thing that still felt true. The villagers slept peacefully. The roads remained empty. The candle burned.
and heaven remained silent. Yet in that silence, something unseen was growing, something deeper than hope, stronger than expectation. Trust. Not trust in outcomes, but trust in meaning. And though Hannah could not hear heaven speak, her faith spoke loudly enough to keep the light burning. Night after night, year after year, waiting, believing, enduring. Loneliness does not arrive all at once. It settles in slowly, like nightfall, quiet, unnoticed, inevitable. Hannah grew older. Her steps shortened. Her hands, once steady, now trembled when she struck the match. The candle flame wavered as if it understood how fragile time had become. By then, the village had changed. New faces walked the roads. Old names were carved into stone. The children who once watched her candle from afar now had children of their own. And Hannah remained. She no longer expected conversation. She no longer explained herself. Faith had become something private. Church felt different now. The hymns were the same, but the space between notes felt wider. Prayers were spoken quickly, efficiently, as if heaven preferred brevity. Hannah prayed slowly. She prayed with pauses, with memories, with silence. Some Sundays, people offered her polite smiles. Others looked away, uncomfortable with her persistence. She understood. Hope that survives too long makes people question their own. So Hannah learned to carry her faith alone. At night, she spoke to God not as a desperate woman, but as an old friend. "I am still here," she whispered. "I am still waiting." There were no demands left in her voice, no urgency, just presence. And sometimes, in the quietest moments, she wondered if faith was meant to feel this heavy. But even then, she lit the candle. Because loneliness did not mean absence, and silence did not mean abandonment. It simply meant the road was longer than she ever imagined.
The final night did not announce itself. There was no sign in the sky, no heaviness in the air, no warning that this prayer would be different. Hannah moved slowly that evening, her body tired, her breath shallow, her bones carrying the weight of years spent believing without reward. She struck the match carefully. The flame caught. She smiled faintly, as if greeting an old friend. The candle was shorter now, worn down from decades of waiting. So was she. Hannah placed it in the window as she always had. Outside, the road was empty. Inside, the house felt still. She knelt beside her bed, not because she had strength left, but because it felt right. Her prayer came softly, not pleading, not questioning, simply truth. "I did my best," she whispered. "I kept the light on." There was no expectation left in her heart, only trust. Trust that if the answer never came, then maybe the waiting itself had meaning. Hannah lay down. The candle continued to burn, and for the first time in 50 years, she did not wait for footsteps. Sleep took her gently, the kind of sleep that feels like rest, not escape. Outside, the night remained silent. Inside, the flame flickered steadily, and somewhere beyond what Hannah could see, her prayer was closer to being answered than it had ever been before. The village slept. Doors were locked.
Windows dark. Lives resting in the comfort of endings they believed were complete. But the candle in Hannah's window still burned. Its flame was small, almost fragile, yet it pushed back the darkness with quiet defiance. Down the long, empty road beyond the village, a man walked alone. His steps were slow, measured, heavy with exhaustion. He had traveled farther than he ever intended, farther than his youth had imagined, farther than regret ever plans to go. The years had carved lines into his face. Time had taken more than it had given. He did not expect welcome. He did not expect forgiveness. He was simply following the road because it was all he had left. Then he saw it. A single light. Not from a street lamp, not from another traveler's fire. A candle, steady, waiting. It should not have mattered. It should not have meant anything. And yet something in his chest tightened. That light awakened a memory he had buried deep. A room filled with warmth, a voice calling him home, a promise he once made and never kept. The man stopped walking. For the first time in years, he felt seen, not judged, not chased, just remembered. He did not know who still waited. He did not know if anyone would open the door. But that candle told him something words never could. Someone had not given up.
The knock came softly, so softly that at first no one heard it. The candle flickered in the window of a house now too quiet to respond. Neighbors woke to the sound. Whispers spread. Doors opened cautiously. By morning, the village gathered outside Hannah's home. They found her peacefully still, hands folded, face calm. The candle had burned down to its final inch, and standing at the door was her son. Older, worn, changed, but unmistakably hers. He had returned too late for her eyes to see, but not too late for her prayer to be answered. The villagers stood in silence. No one spoke. No one dared explain what they were witnessing. The pastor bowed his head. Friends wept. The son fell to his knees, not in despair, but in understanding. He learned of the candle, of the prayers, of the waiting that never ended. He had wandered far, lost himself in roads that promised freedom and delivered emptiness. But the light had called him back, not with force, not with fear, with faith. And in that moment, the village learned a truth they had never considered. Some prayers are not answered on our schedule. Some faith outlives the believer. Some miracles arrive only after the lesson is complete. Hannah never heard the knock, never saw the door open, never felt the embrace she prayed for. Yet her prayer was not wasted, it was fulfilled. Because faith is not measured by what we receive, but by what we are willing to believe, even when the answer comes beyond our lifetime.
Faith is often misunderstood. We are taught that faith is confidence, that faith is certainty, that faith is believing so strongly that the answer cannot refuse us. But Hannah's life told a different story. Her faith did not command miracles. It did not bend time. It did not force heaven's hand. Her faith endured. For 50 years, she prayed without proof. She waited without reassurance. She believed without reward. And in doing so, she revealed a truth far deeper than answered prayers. Faith is not about control. It is about trust. Trust that love spoken into the darkness is never wasted. Trust that prayers do not disappear just because we do not see their ending. Trust that God works beyond our clocks, our lifetimes, and our understanding. Hannah's candle did not bring her son home sooner, but it brought him home eventually. And perhaps more importantly, it brought meaning to every night she waited. Her faith shaped a story larger than herself, a story that reached beyond her final breath, a story that taught an entire village what belief truly looks like. Faith does not always change circumstances. Sometimes it changes what those circumstances become. And Hannah's faith became a light that outlived her, one that still speaks long after the candle burned out.
If you were listening to this right now, you may be waiting too. Waiting for an answer that hasn't come. Praying words that feel like they vanish into silence. Wondering if heaven has forgotten your name. Let Hannah remind you of something important. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. And unanswered does not mean unheard. Some prayers work quietly. Some answers take longer than a lifetime. And some faith is meant to be planted, not harvested. So keep praying, even when you're tired, even when you doubt, even when you feel foolish for still believing. Keep the light on, because you may never know how far your faith will reach, who it will guide home, or how powerfully it will speak long after you think your story is finished. Faith does not always give us what we want, but it always gives our waiting meaning. And sometimes that is the miracle.